Are you a pet parent looking for the ultimate pet pampering experience? At Party Paws Playhouse, they understand that your furry friends deserve the best. That's why they offer top-notch grooming service and a luxurious pet hotel experience like no other. Whether your four-legged family member needs a spa day with the expert groomers or a cozy staycation while you're away, Party Paws Playhouse has got you covered. Are you ready to make an appointment or a reservation? Give them a call today at 708-898-2358. The friendly staff is always there to assist you and to ensure your pet's comfort and happiness.
Don't let a DUI charge ruin your life. Get a professional and confidential evaluation from our experienced team at True Heights Treatment. Our evaluations are accepted by the majority of courts in the state of Illinois and provide a comprehensive assessment of your substance use patterns and potential treatment needs. Get the help you need today and start your path to a brighter future. Contact us now to schedule your evaluation at 708-248-7039 or at thtdui.com.
The George Brassey Podcast is made possible with funding provided from Brassey Global Strategies, LLC, a leading political consulting, public policy, government affairs, and research firm. Are you interested in running for elected office? Need advice? Call or email George, 708-769-5015. Brassey Global Strategies 1 at gmail.com.
The George Brassey Podcast is brought to you by Enzo's and Caramel Corn, located at 1710 Chicago Road in Chicago Heights, Illinois. Enzo's and Caramel Corn is the go-to spot for authentic Italian beef, pizza, and the most irresistible caramel corn you'll ever taste. Whether you're in the mood to dine in and savor the cozy atmosphere, grab a quick carry-out order, or have your favorites delivered right to your door, Enzo's and Caramel Corn has got you covered. 7 days a week and open late. Call Enzo's and Caramel Corn today at 708-754-7040 or visit them at enzosbeef.com. Hello everyone, it's George. I'm so glad to welcome Monee Township Trustee Billy Morgan of the podcast. Billy, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Billy, tell the audience a little bit about who you are and where your interest in government and politics came to be.
You know, I think I've always been interested in government and politics, but, you know, things changed a little bit in 2008 when Rod Blagojevich was arrested, and I wasn't shocked. I wasn't surprised. How in the world could there be an arrest like that? And, you know, we weren't surprised. Clearly, there were some things with the state that we needed to work on. So, you know, I graduated from Monee High School, which is in the south suburbs, eastern Will County, and then moved to the University of Chicago. And that's where I work now. I work at the University of Chicago Harris School of Public Policy. So I get to be around people who are thinking about ways to make people's lives better every single day.
So, Billy, somewhere in that journey, though, you worked for former Governor Pat Quinn.
That's correct.
Can you talk a little bit about working for him, and were you working for him during the Blagojevich years?
I was not, no. You know, it's kind of interesting. When I was in college, I did my, I was a history major, and I did my, senior paper on the history of the death penalty in the state of Illinois. And, Governor Quinn is somebody who played a big role in the history of the death penalty in Illinois, although he doesn't get a whole lot of credit for it. He was the one that signed the legislation that ended up abolishing the death penalty. But I had no idea when I was writing that paper that I would end up working for somebody who, played a role in that project. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do after college. and I applied to the Dunn Fellowship. A Dunn Fellowship is a nonpartisan fellowship that puts you somewhere in the governor's office. And I'd never done communications before, but I got accepted and put into the communications team. This was in 2013, so it was shortly before his run for re-election. And the state was in the midst of lots of important discussions on policy, but I think one of the most interesting ones for me that I found most gratifying was getting to be there for the signing of marriage equality at the UIC Forum, which he did on President Abraham Lincoln's desk as a lover of history. That was pretty neat. So I worked, that's a year-long fellowship. And after that, I ended up getting a big boy job, as you might say, and was a full governor staff employee in the communications office. Eventually, after the administration ended, I went to continue to work for Governor Quinn on his various post-governor projects. So we got his portrait put up on the wall in the governor's hall in the state capitol. We worked on a very important petition drive to put term limits on the mayor of the city of Chicago. Out of the top 10 largest cities in the country, Chicago's the only one that doesn't have any kind of term limit on its mayor. And other projects. I think it was through working for him that I came to understand the importance of making sure that you're fighting for everyday people. And that's why, as we're talking now, candidates are trying to get on the ballot. And, I've always been a big fan of the petition process, probably the only one in the history of Illinois who's excited about petitions, because it's the most direct form of democracy that we've got. It doesn't matter who you are, your signature counts for one signature. And I think that's kind of an inspiring thing.
Billy, Governor Quinn is, you mentioned some post-administration reforms he pursued. It was so interesting looking at the historical background of Quinn, how Rauner tried to paint him as not a reformer, as part of the status quo, even when Quinn was the state rep, he was quite the reformer.
Well, I don't believe he ever served as state rep. But when he was, a younger man, he worked in the governor's office under Governor Dan Walker. And, he left that in order to go do a statewide petition drive. So he did petition drives to, at one time, state legislators could take their entire year's salary on the first day of office, one giant check. And he did a petition drive to make sure that that practice was ended and that people actually had to continue to do the job in order to continue to get paid. It's things like that. He worked for legislative term limits. He worked for a lot of different reforms, including the cutback amendment, which reduced the size of the Illinois House. And it is interesting how he was trying to be painted in a way that's very against what the actual historical record shows.
Well, let's transition back to your history. At some point, you make the decision to run for Monee Township Trustee. Can you talk a little bit about what influenced that decision for you?
Sure. After I left working for Governor Quinn, I was able to do work in my local community. And so one of the first things I said, I'll never get involved at all in any school district stuff because it's people's taxes. It's probably, almost 2/3 of their tax bill, and it's their kids. So what are people going to get more upset about than school districts? So of course I ended up getting involved in a school district issue. locally, Crete Monee School District 201U, where I live. And at that time, the school district had a plan which was going to disinvest from the two majority Black communities in the school district, University Park and Park Forest. And I'd seen that movie before in other places. And they wanted to do this in a way where it avoided having a referendum, which the school code says you have to do. And so I reached out and I had some, questions about this plan, and the powers that be, kind of patted me on the head and said, we know better. So I didn't take that for an answer. And a group of friends and we got together and we put signatures on a petition, and we put our own referendum on the ballot. And rather than cast it as, a divisive issue along racial lines, we wanted to make it about voters' rights, about people's ability to have a voice in something this important. So we put a question on the ballot, which I don't think the school district even realized legally we could do. I think they were a little bit shocked by it. And in the end, those schools that they were trying to shut down, they're still there today. Coretta Scott King Magnet School in University Park, and Talala Elementary in Park Forest. And by reframing the narrative, we were able to get 80% of the voters to agree with us. So that was the first thing that I got really involved in.
And for Bill, Trustee, that's you as a citizen activist. You're not on the school board at this point, or are you?
Absolutely, just as a citizen activist.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that kind of jump-started my local activism. And, both of those places, Coretta Scott King in University Park and Talala in Park Forest, they're both in Monee Township. And so I was doing a lot of work in Monee Township already. I'd been active in the Democratic Party and was a precinct committee person. And in 2020, I became the chair of the Monee Township Democratic Organization. And so I got very involved in local township issues through that. So at the caucus, I was chosen to be one of the candidates for trustee. And I really like the township form of government. It's the most grassroots form of government. It's really, you can treat it like a social service agency, because you're just trying to help people, make sure people don't fall through the cracks. That's what that form of government's there for. And, that's the kind of thing close to the people that I think we need more of today.
And tell me a little bit about the election to run for Township Trustee the first time.
Well, it ended up being fairly easy. Because the other side didn't put up any other candidates, so we were unopposed as a slate. So I spent my time neighboring Crete Township, had a contested election. I ended up being the campaign manager over there. So, when I didn't have a fight of my own, I took on somebody else's fight. And, that's something that I've always believed in, is making sure that, I'm helping good people get elected. Jumping forward a little bit, last year, for instance, I was the campaign manager for Judge Jessica Colon-Sayre, who ran countywide for circuit court judge in Will County and ended up winning against, we had $100,000 or something, and we had an opponent with $500,000, and we ended up winning. So it was through hard work, and, this has been the kind of thing that I'm focused on doing, and I'm sure that it's something that a lot of your listeners and people are focused on doing, is making sure that good people are in elected office.
Now, Billy, you have set your sights to Springfield for your next step in your political career. Can you talk about the nomination you're seeking for state rep?
Sure. So I'm running for state rep in the 79th district. And the 79th district is drawn to be essentially 50-50. It's not the kind of race where you can go out there and say, if I just get my side out, I'm going to win. You actually have to talk to people who disagree with you. You've got to talk to people. And I think we've kind of forgotten how to talk to people. And so I'm really looking forward to that adventure of going out into the district, meeting new people, finding out what their issues are, and trying to find real practical solutions. I'm very solutions oriented. The district goes from Southern Cook County, a little bit of Bloom Township, a little bit more of Rich Township, Park Forest, a little bit of Richton Park. Down through, there's a little bit of Crete, University Park, Monee, and then it goes over and it follows I-57. So everything that's west of I-57, Bradley, Bourbonnais, Kankakee, Essex, in Kankakee County. And then it goes back up into Will County in Braidwood. So it's a big district. And, I'm looking forward to the next year plus of getting to know the parts of the district that I don't know as well and continuing to grow in the areas that I do know. So it'll be an adventure. March 19th is the primary. So right now the sights are set on March 19th.
Billy, if you are successful in that primary, you will have to face a Republican state rep who's an incumbent. How do you feel about her record?
Well, I think it leaves a lot to be desired, frankly. She has developed a reputation of being, not a bomb thrower, not a Trumpian type person, but she's been a Ron DeSantis supporter, and her votes are in lockstep with the Republican Party on every issue. And now she's in leadership, so it's even going to get more lockstep. So, her record is, frankly, it leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to the issues that she says that she cares about the most. There's the Shapiro Center in Kankakee County, people with mental health, people with disabilities. These people need our help and our attention, and I haven't seen her out being an advocate for those folks. There's a lot of work to be done for our district and for the state of Illinois that's not being done.
Trustee, the last question we always ask our guest is, what are 2 books that have been important to you as a person that you think the audience should know about, and why?
So, it's interesting. I'm a big reader. I try to read at least a book a week. Wow. The campaign has made it a little bit harder to accomplish that, but I'm still going strong. But, there's 2 books that I've been thinking about a lot lately. One is a book called Let the People Rule by John G. Matsusaka. Now, Let the People Rule is the idea that there's a lot of people who are disaffected with their government right now. And maybe the way that we can fix that is not by saying, oh, everything's okay, but instead by bringing the government closer to people, letting them vote on more issues like these referendums that I've been talking about. I think that there's a lot of opportunities where people can actually govern themselves on issues that are important. I worked, when I was working for Governor Quinn, I went on a little side project and I got petitions and put a question on the ballot for earned sick leave. And so we got earned sick leave on the ballot and it passed. Those issues are important to people, and I think making sure that people know that the government's actually responsive to them is very, very important. The second book is one that I read a couple of years ago, Getting to Yes, Negotiating Agreement Without Giving In, which I'm sure a lot of your listeners have heard of. It's by Roger Fisher, William Ury, and Bruce Patton. And when I read that, I don't want to spoil the book for you. It's about negotiating. But the thing that I find most memorable from that whole book is the idea, which can be summed up as, don't argue against what people are saying. Try to figure out what they actually mean. A lot of times people have something that's behind their words that they're really trying to convey. It's a broader feeling. It's a bigger issue. And so if you're trying to get people to come along to your side, if you're trying to get to yes, like the book's title says, you've got to try to figure out really where people are coming from and not get stuck in the specifics of the language. So those are two books that I think would be useful for anybody and certainly have been useful for me.
Trustee Morgan, tell the audience where they could find you on the internet and when the election is again.
Well, thank you so much for having me on here. I really appreciate it. My website is billymorgan.com. That's BILLYMORGAN.com. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. So look up Billy Morgan for state representative on both of those things. And the election is March 19th, 2024. So be on the lookout.
Trustee Morgan, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye.
Need more George? Like his pages on Facebook. Friends of George Brassey PAC, Fifth Ward Business Alliance, Chicago Heights Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center, and the George Brassey Podcast.
Begin to transform your life and work towards inner peace with expert psychotherapy. At True Heights Treatment, our experienced therapists provide personalized, compassionate care to help you overcome life's challenges and reach your goals. Whether you're struggling with depression, anxiety, relationship issues, or other mental health concerns, our team is here to support you. With a warm and welcoming in-person and virtual office atmosphere and a commitment to person-centered and evidence-based treatments, we are dedicated to helping you address your life's challenges. Contact us now to schedule your first session at 708-248-7039 or online at trueheightstx.com. Book your appointment today and start your journey towards a happier, healthier life.